Good morning. Well, it's a Monday morning and I feel good and I thank the Lord for his goodness. So this morning I got my coffee. Y'all come join me. And I was just got through watching Granny Pat. Chit Chat Granny Pat. And her story was I climbed that mountain. And when you get to be mine her age, you have climbed a few mountains. And that got me to thinking about some mountains I have climbed and thought my life was over. And it was really an interesting time that I spent with Granny Pat this morning. Thank you, Pat. I enjoyed that very much. Now I'm going to tell about some of mine, but I always have a verse that I like to open with. And it says this, Isaiah 40, 40th chapter, 4th verse. Every valley shall be lifted up, and every mountain and hill be made low. The uneven ground shall become level, and the rough places a plain. And the Lord goes before us and makes the crooked places straight, and he helps us. Sometimes we don't even know he's helping us, but we have guardian angels, and he's looking out for us. He loves us, and we love him back. And Isaiah 2:2 says, It shall come to pass in the latter days that the mountain of the house of the Lord shall be established as the highest of the mountains, and shall be lifted up above all the hills and all the nations that flow to it. So, anyway, I'm showing pictures this morning. Somebody wanted to see when I was younger. Well, when I look at this picture here of a little old black-haired girl, blonde-headed boy, that's my brother Norman. And he's 3 years younger than me. And that's Phyllis, my little sister. And she passed away about 18 years ago. Too young to go, but cancer got her. But Norman is doing great. And I grew to be Grandma Lois. I had silky black hair. Never did grow real good, but we lived up in the mountains. And since that time, I have been through so much that was interesting, heartbreaking, and happy. So I'm going to share with you all some of the things that come to mind. And when I got married at 16 years of age, I could not cook. I could not fry even potatoes to get them done. But I finally learned. Practice makes perfect, and I learned how. And I always worked in the fields and helped, and Mom did all the cooking. And she would go and ring the dinner bell, and we would all come in and eat. And when I worked in the fields, I had a big old straw hat I wore because I cannot take the sun. And so I'd wear this big old hat. I'd wear one of Daddy's long sleeve shirts, and I'd wear his overalls. Blue jean, straps and all that. I'd wear a pair of that because if the sun hit me, I burned, and I didn't. And when you chop corn and tobacco, you're in the sun. You take a hoe like you use in the garden, and you chop all the weeds around the corn plants and heap up the dirt around and kill the weeds so that all the fertilizer and everything will feed the corn and not the weeds. It was rough, and that was going on when I was from 10, 11, 12, till I got married. We had to do that every summer. We got the corn laid by July usually, and we had to walk to school. But I had a lot of joy before that because Daddy was working. He had money. He took us to the movies. We saw the Westerns. And when we lived in Lynchburg, Virginia, it was a joyful time for me and Norman. Phyllis couldn't go. She was too little. But Daddy would take just me and Norman to the movies, and we would watch. Before the movies came on, they would show World War pictures. It was like news. They would run the news, and you'd see that. And then some acts would come on. And I remember seeing one girl with skimpy clothes on that could bend her body like a rubber band. I saw that and I remembered. And he took us to these air shows where these 2 and 4 plane, well, they were Cubs, small planes, and they would do tricks up in the air. They would get out and stand on the wing. I mean, I never saw nothing like it since. But Daddy used to take us to the air shows. And so we saw airplanes and the tricks that they could do with them, how they would dive down and it looked like they was going to hit the ground and then they'd pull out and go up and do it again. I bet you could get some of that on YouTube, some of those old air shows. I never thought about that. Nearly everything you want to look at is on YouTube. Well, I tell you what, my life has been interesting, but there's been a lot of mountains. But after I got married and got so sick with female problems, that was so painful that I finally had to have surgery. And the mountain that I crossed through that one was terrible because the doctor said, you will never have any children. Well, I didn't really want them, I thought. But when they tell you you can't have any, that's terrible because you realize that when you're 17 years old, 18 years old, you might want kids after all. It's not like your mom's kids where you were changing their diapers all the time, which I did not care to do at all. I didn't want to take care of mama's kids. But when I found out I couldn't have any more babies, that was a terrible blow. We was living in New Albany then, Buddy and I, in a one-room apartment with an ice box and a gas stove like they had at the flea market, which has a oven that's also gas, and you have to light them all with a match. And we learned to do that, and we learned to order our ice every other day or so, maybe twice a week. You get a big block of ice, they bring it around, you pay them for the ice, and that little apartment had an ice box. But when the doctor told me that, I cried all the way to catch the bus, because that's how we got around town. Buses were everywhere. And that's how you could go from one place to the other. During that time in my life, it was a mountain. I mean, when I lay in that hospital and my mom didn't know, they weren't there, no one was there except my pastor come to see me and visit with me and pray with me. But I lay there in that bed and they put me on morphine for the pain. And I would sing that song, Jesus, hold my hand. I need thee every hour, because I couldn't make it without the Lord. So the Lord has helped me through many trials and tribulations in my life. And I had a lot of fun too. It's back and forth. You have a good time a while, but what I learned a long time ago, and when I was in California, to make the best, and when I got married young, to make the best of it. And that's what Pat did. She made the best of it. But she didn't really start living, she said, till she was older. And I tell you what, since I've been married to James, it's been some of the best years of my life because he is so much fun. And he goes to many places. He's so active. I mean, we traveled. We went to bluegrass festivals all over the near states and with our motorhome. And it was so comfortable. It had air conditioning. It had a big bed. It was wonderful. So, but another thing, Buddy died after we was married 44 years. 44 years. And 4 children, an adopted son and 3 girls. Twins the first time, and they're now 70 years old, gonna be 71 in May. And it was a joyful time, a lot of the time, raising my kids. And I tried to give them good memories. You know, I'd take them for a while. I remember one time we had a mulberry tree down the street from us. Now, mulberries are good to eat. You pick them off the tree, and they're delicious. But one time we got enough mulberries, kind of took the stems off, and I had enough to make a mulberry pie. I only made it one time, but you know, it was real good, doing something different. So I tried to make it, life interesting for them. And then I remember how I love to read. And so I introduced my kids to the library. And when Kim, the baby daughter, did not want to read. And here she's getting 10 years old, and she wasn't interested in the children's books or anything like that. Karen and Kathy read from the time they could learn how to read. They loved books, and they still do, and I do too. So anyway, I didn't know what to do about Kim. I mean, if you don't read, to me, you're missing out on a lot of life. So one time we went to the library, and Kim was about 10 years old, and I said, "You're going with us today." I drove a car. I had a car all the time. So we went to the library in New Albany, and they had a children's section. And I said, "Kim, today, you pick out your own books." I had been picking her out books, and she wasn't interested in. I thought they was interesting. She wasn't interested. So she picked out 2 or 3 books that looked interesting to her. And so we took them home. We kept them about 2 weeks. That girl finally got interested in books. And then you couldn't stop her. But she was late, not like Karen and Kathy, who was reading from first grade on, because now I think Kim was in the third or fourth grade. But now she has read so many books, and she loves books. And a lot of us, all of us, sometimes rather look at books read a book than watch TV or anything else. There's a lot of interesting stuff on YouTube, though. And I've got this big iPad, and of course I watch some of my iPad. I have made so many YouTube friends. There's Mrs. Peach, Thrifty Living, and of course Senioritis, Deborah Connor. I think that's her last name. And Jared King, watch him. I've just got a lot of people I like to watch. It takes up some more time. I don't get to do anything else. But this weekend, Sunday, well, and Saturday, James was in front of that big old TV over at his house. I call it our house. It's our house. We got our house 2 places. And ball game after ball game. And of course, our friend Clarence up in New Jersey, he's watching it. He's watching them all day. And Debbie is watching them because she's a Kentucky fan, because she lives down in Kentucky somewhere. And we're pulling for Kentucky. And Karen and Mike down in South Carolina, so they're pulling for Kentucky. And guess what? Sunday evening, they won. And so now they'll be playing again next Friday. And we won't miss it. James won't miss it. I was basketball queen when I was in high school, but I never got to go to any games because we didn't have no way to go. So I was at the home games. Daddy was not in. So I like basketball, but football, nah, I don't understand it. I understand basketball because I always watched the home games. They would have them during school, and they would dismiss classes, and all of us would go watch. And my boyfriend was captain of the team. And that was fun. Well, I tell you what, I was just looking at some of my pictures. I changed my thing that goes on the front of the, let's see, on the front of the, up there in the corner on my YouTube. I changed it, and now, let's see. I want to see what I got. Oh, I don't see it. I was going to show you some more pictures of when I was younger. I can't find them. I could show you the one where I was pregnant with the twins. When I was pregnant with the twins, I could set my cup of coffee, which I've always drank coffee, right on top of my tummy, and just, like it was a coffee table. But I've just enjoyed doing YouTube, and it's so much fun. Now, I was researching how long most of these people watch me, and it's about 12 minutes, so I'm going to quit talking so long. I don't know about that. But anyway, I did a live thing, son. James said, excuse me, my nose is itching again. Where's my Kleenex? He said, I thought you was going to quit that and not do any more live hardly. I said, I changed my mind. Women can change their mind just like that. And I said, so when I went in the little studio at his house, I just hit that button to go live. It didn't do too good right off, but and I watched some of it later, and what I didn't like about it was I would be talking about one thing, and a name or something coming up, then I'd forget what I was talking about. So I don't know if I finished everything or not. I'd be in one subject, but it was fun. I did enjoy it, and 52 minutes, people. It's amazing to me. Pat, Granny, I don't call her Granny, I just call her Pat. She says, I can't understand why sometimes people would look at this, this me all like that. And I told James, I says, it's amazing to me too. I can't hardly figure it out. But I enjoy it. And it seems like y'all do. I got a lot of friends, like, I know a lot of them, but a lot of y'all by name now. And love every one of you. And as Pat said this morning, y'all are my friends. And she's got YouTube friends now. She and I are friends, and I'm friends with some of these other grandmas. And so it's really interesting and to watch them and see what they're doing. And sometimes they inspire you to talk about something that you hadn't thought of in years. And that's the way it was with Granny Pat this morning when I was watching her. And I got thinking about some of the mountains I have climbed. And she went through some terrible times, and I have too. When I lost my first husband after 44 years of marriage, and us together all the time, the last 14 years of our marriage, 24/7, I really thought my life was over. I thought that was it. I really did. I mean, here I was. He was 63 and I was 61. It was good, though. I did get Social Security because I didn't have a job or anything. But I had went back to grooming to get the medicine for him. The insurance would pay everything. They put a tube in his stomach, and he had to have that liquid food, and it run $200 a month, and we didn't have funds to get it. So I put signs around and run an ad, and I still had my table and my shears and my clippers and my scissors, and I started doing dogs again at 61, when you should be retired. I came out of retirement and started doing dogs, and I made better than two. It helped us going because his Social Security, what he was drawing, was only like $500 a month, and I had to have more money than that. It was enough. We paid the utilities. We had to move back home. Thankful to God that he inspired me to build a little apartment in the rear of our house. Oh yes, and we had to rent $400 a month for the front apartment because my daughter, baby Kim, lived there, but she got married. And her first marriage ended in divorce, and she got married the second time, and he's been a wonderful husband. And she had those two little girls to raise, which are now Melissa and Vanessa. Melissa's 40-something, and that's one of my favorite grandchildren because she lives nearby. And when she talks to me on the phone, she always says, "Love you." I mean, how can you resist a granddaughter like that? Now, the other ones up in New Jersey say the same thing, but this one is here. When I had my 90th birthday, she bought me a bouquet that was probably cost her $50. I don't know. It was beautiful. I still have a picture of it somewhere. And it lasted. It was a real one. I almost prefer artificial. They don't die, and you don't have to water them. It's just kind of nice. That's just my preference. But that one lasted a long time because I took pictures. And it was a beautiful bouquet. Oh, well. So anyhow, when Buddy died, I thought, what am I going to do with my life? It's over. So I started more faithfully. I couldn't do it when he was so sick. He was an invalid the last time, and he was in bed mainly or in a chair, and I would go walk around the apartments, and I would sing that song, This world is not my home, I'm just a passing through. My treasures are laid up somewhere beyond the blue. And I thought, he's going to be in heaven and I just as soon go with him. But I said, maybe I'll get cancer and die too. There's nothing for me if he's not here. God had other plans. See, you don't know what God's going to do, people. You just don't know. When you love the Lord, things can happen. Look at me, I'm on YouTube. And I can't hardly believe it at times. And y'all like to listen to me. That's a miracle of God. I always did dress up though. Like I told y'all the other day, I always wore flowers in my hair. And when I married James, and he has a niece and she lives next door, and I didn't have a bunch of flowers. I do now. I ordered them from Amazon because you can't find flowers just in regular stores, you know. So Tammy found some 3 or 4 flowers, different colors, and she gave them to me as a present. She says, I know you like to wear flowers in your hair, and I wore them. And even this morning when I went to Myers, and I don't know how many people, and I would pass and say, I like your flower, and this is one I have. Red always gets attention more than those other off-color colors, yellow and red. And of course, I got on a red shirt this morning, and I decided just to wear white with it too. It looks all right. Looks good. So I've been ordering some more stuff from Amazon to set my iPad on. I'm sitting here in my chair this morning, but I like that TV. But do y'all really think I did all right with that live? I might do it again. That was fun, but I don't think we are to go 50-some minutes. That's too long. So somebody say, it's time for you to hush, Grandma. Close it down. And then when I get done, I don't know how to close it down. And I finally learned how. Somebody said, hit the X. I got it. Thank you. Y'all were fun. But Dorothy, who talks to me a lot, she's very entertaining because she spends her opinion just like I do. She tells you exactly what she thinks, which I appreciate. That's okay. She's different. I'm different. And she says she's real retiring and shy and not outgoing. Well, she's outgoing with me when she talks to me, and I like it. So she's not as shy as she thinks she is, maybe, huh? I don't think so. Okay, Dorothy? So you'll make remarks, and I saw her. So she says, I know y'all read comments too, but Dorothy says, I'd rather see these kind. She likes these I do at home, and she can put comments on. And there she was watching me live, and I was so surprised because I didn't think she would fool with looking at it. But she made some comments. I don't remember what she said, but she was there. So, well, we love you, Dorothy. And somebody requested prayer for a little 5-month-old baby, and when I was up, I was praying for it, that the Lord will touch it and the parents and let the doctors do the right thing. And my varicose vein is bothering me again. And so I got up and I made me a cup of hot chocolate because my leg was hurting. It just aches. I mean, you can't sleep. So I got up and made me a cup of hot chocolate and put my, well, I've got this stuff called Max Freeze. This is Max Freeze. You get it from Amazon, and rubbed it up and down that varicose vein and went back to bed and went to sleep. And I didn't want to get up this morning. So, so thank you, Lord, for Advil. I took a couple of Advil and the Max Freeze, and I put my thing that holds it in. It's a support on the varicose vein. And we walked at the Y. We did our exercise, and then I came home and ate my pork weenie and fixed James oatmeal with apples and he likes just the instant oatmeal you get at the Walmart. He likes me to cut up. You take a thing and do your apple, and it splits all different directions. I got a good one that does that. And then I cut up half a banana and raisins and put in his oatmeal, which makes it a pretty hearty little breakfast. He could travel on that. I don't like oatmeal that well. You know, when I was a little girl, my mom, sometimes in the winter, they gave us oatmeal. She'd cook oatmeal. And then sometimes she would make mush. You know what mush is? You take cornmeal and you cook it with water and some butter. We usually had butter. And you could put sugar in it. And then it's a lot like cream of wheat. But you have to cook it a while. Just cornmeal. And you can make mush. And that's what she called it. I don't know what it really is. We called it mush. And also she cooked oatmeal from the old timey kind of oats. And I was always hungry. So after we'd have supper a lot of times, I'd wake up about, well, no, I didn't exactly wake up. Before I went to sleep, I would be hungry again. So I would get up, go to the kitchen, get me out a handful of those dry oats, put a little sugar on them, and eat them dry. Just drink a little water because I was so hungry. You know, that may be why I'm so healthy. But my little sister, she didn't last because she was always puny. I was never puny. No, I wasn't. That's what they called it when you was skinny. And of course, I finally, thank you, Jesus, found me a thing that will fit my skinny little arm. And I have a little left hand. And guess who had to wash when we had the can in the summertime, guess who had to wash all the cans that we canned in? Mom couldn't get her hand in it, but I could. So I had to wash all the cans when we was canning. Well, I'm going to hush. But it's been fun. I got things to do and places to be. I got me a new fire stick that does all kinds of stuff. And I like YouTube, and I watch it on the big screen a lot. And I like to do that. So I got to hook up that new fire stick. And it was only $19. And it does all kinds of stuff. Tammy, my niece who lives next door, she's James's niece. And anyhow, she came over and helped me work some the other day. And she's really good at the techie stuff like that. So I might have to get her to help me. I don't know. I'm going to try myself first. I'm going to YouTube it. When you don't know how to do something, sometimes you can go to YouTube and they'll just walk you right through it. So if I can't do it, I'll call on my helper. Thank you, Lord, for Tammy. And y'all walk that walk now where Jesus would be pleased with you. Love you. Bye-bye.